Hello and welcome back to another Blog video diary. I'm sorry about the abrupt end to the last one, but my wee camera just ran out of battery. I'm hoping that won't happen this time. I gave it a charge, so hopefully I'll be able to conclude and get to the wrap, as they say in technical terms. But the garden's moved on a bit. Everything changes at this time of year. You can see up there the Fritillaria imperialis looking quite imperial, despite the fact that they were blown over to 20 degrees off the ground in recent winds. They're not designed to take strong winds, despite the stoutness of their stem, but they are rather magnificent. And here, just this bed that not long ago was just covered in mulch and a few clumps of snowdrops, and gradually there's more and more plants adding to the mixture. This is a hybrid between Primula vulgaris and veris. It's a pretty wee thing. I'll show you, you'll see over here, I'll go around there and show you the two parents. I can't go up that pathway at the moment because the Erythroniums have taken it over. I'm kind of doing this today because there's a new storm coming over. Apparently a weather bomb. They're calling it Dave. Well, I would rather Dave didn't bother, but Dave's going to be hitting us over this weekend. And I don't know what state we're going to be in. There's all sorts. We could even get more snow. We've actually had snow since the last video, but it didn't stay long. It came at night and then disappeared. So I'm going round here to see the Erythroniums here, just starting to open, some of them. That's Erythronium creating cover girl, we've got lots of it. The Corydalis are just the earlier Malkensis and starting to go over. They'll be making seed and setting seed, scattering their seed. There's a primrose, Primula vulgaris, growing up through the Anemone, ranunculoides. Over there you can see, can I see it? Oh yes, Erythronium oregonum. And down in front, if I can home in it correctly, you've got the darker yellow Primula veris, cowslip, and the primrose, the pale Primula vulgaris, and those two cross to form this pretty hybrid, which doesn't set seed but clumps up. You can lift and divide the clumps if you want. Oh, sorry. No, I made you dizzy now. Made myself dizzy. The bulb houses, we won't go in there just now, but they're still going on. We've still got flowers. There's still some new narcissus coming out, and Fritillaria's coming out as well now. But they are starting to, as the garden winds up, the plants under glass wind down. I did see something here, things seeding around into the path. You find all sorts seeding, but a wee Trillium there seeding. There's a clump of Anemone nemorosa that I raised that up from seed from a local patch in a local wood that I found. So I took some seeds. And if you can keep plants as local as you can, there's a better chance they'll do well for you. See a big bee over there. I'm not going to try and zoom into it, I'll make a mess of it, but there are insects about. We even saw some butterflies the other week. The cobble bed, a few of the bigger narcissus in flower, not much else. Over there we've again got primroses. Primula, and the two, there again you've got the Veris and vulgaris. Some of the saxes are flowering away still. This bed's the wee bulbs are doing fine. The Primula marginata. Here we have the coming through the Cyananthus lobatus, looking like a cushion plant at the moment. But once it gets going, that'll sprawl out and cover this almost 3/4 of this bed completely by the end of the summer with its lovely blue flowers. The wee saxes, these are the hybrids. Is it Crosspiculata or something? And here a bit blown over in some of the winds, Erythronium, Hendersoni, different collections. They get blown over and get some seed from them, I hope. I'm coming around, we're early for it's early enough for the Erythroniums. Another 2 or 3 weeks we'll have a lot more colour, but it's starting. The blue Bacilla rosenis coming and looking rather nice. And you can see the benefit of having these interlopers in the bed, because this bed plunge for Erythronium is all very well, but already we've had, what have we had? We've had some Aranthus, we've had the Iris, Catherine Hodgkin, and now we've got the Corydalis, and all that before Erythroniums get going. They're all happy companions. And down here the Hepaticas and the Corydalis are still, in the first Hepaticas are dropping their petals now, so they're just going to go over. It's interesting to note that the plants that are doing best are the second generation that seeded themselves in, rather than the first generation of seedlings that I planted out. And this you'll find that the plants will choose their own place and grow, and as they go through generations they'll grow better. Fritillaria imperialis. There's more Trillium here. I just love the foliage, to be honest. The mixture of foliage we can get. Peonies pushing up big time. This is the bare patch below the feeders that gets trampled by the pigeons. I'm still trying to find a solution to that. But but lots of growth and so much more signs. Rhododendron ovarifolium. We raised this up from seed that came from an expedition to China. And all these years on, it's quite a substantial size. It's not quite the biggest rhododendron in the garden. We've got bigger ones. That one over there. There's Rhododendron decorum, again raised from seed. It's actually not a single plant, it's two seedlings I planted side by side. And beyond that, a lovely acer. Lots more trilliums and things coming. And I get in, home in here. Erythronium nepenthoides. Appearing. You know, it's the more you garden and the more you allow nature and the plants to dictate the course the garden will take, the more you find that you get more plants growing outside the beds than inside the beds. And in all the gaps between the paving stones, there's more and more appears. This is, without doubt, from what we believe what the forecasters are telling us, this is the calm before the storm. As Dave is fast approaching from the west. It's just this carpet of foliage and all the wee highlights you can find when you start looking of the various flowers, epimediums and erythroniums of all types. There's fritillarias in here as well. The cardamine. The creamy cardamine as well. This is really a great plant for dry, difficult conditions, and when it's flowered and as we approach the summer and it starts to go back, you can pull off little bits. It forms quite a knobbly root and stick them. They'll go in the darkest of places. Look at the one growing in there under these rhododendrons. It gets virtually no light and it must be very dry, but it just grows away. Well, I'm coming round to where my battery went flat the last time. Here we have some Erythroniums. The Eranthus have gone over. There's still lots of Narcissus cyclaminius. I see seed pods forming here on the Erythronium caucasicums, which is good. That's a hybrid of Erythronium hendersoni hybrid Ardovi bliss. The Trilliums and Erythroniums, they'll soon be up. Here's the Rhododendron Dendrocaris. Some of the first of the Trillium rivalis. And here's a Erythronium sibericum, Erythronium revolutums. The Jeffersonias are up, all mixed in with the Cordialis, all the other spring ephemerals. They're all lovely. There's Erythronium americanum leaves, and I'm seeing the very first of the flowers appearing there. Oh, here we go. Here's our, down in here, tiny, a wee colony of Trillium hibersoni. A nice little self-seeding colony. This bed I opened up, you'll remember, when I cut the rhododendrons back. So they're all sprouting. And I've been planting some Erythroniums and Anemone blandas. Here's some more of the Erythronium hendersoni. And then down here some of my experimental wall planting of Trillium rivalis. I must say there's some not appeared this year. It's the dryness from last year. But this is part of what I'll enjoy doing. It's the experiment. Where will they survive? So that they're surviving down here and they're seeding themselves down below. They're seeding themselves into the wall, which is what I want. And while we may have lost a few plants, the idea and the principle behind the colony is still there. But we have to get them to survive on their own in the variabilities of our weather. Narcissus cyclaminius. Just looking at this bed from the other side. You can see that wee rhododendron didn't like the hot, dry, long dry weather. Last year part of it's died out, but there's some survived. It's been there for years, 40 years probably. But as the weather changes, we're going to see changes in how plants do in the garden. Here we have a nice little natural planting, all self-seeded in. So we've got Erythroniums and Trillium rivalis cohabiting the crevice in the wall. Another nice Primula marginata. And this is the moss pit. This used to be gravel with just a couple of rocks lying on it just to break it up. And I got fed up trying to keep the moss and the weeds out. So a couple of years ago I started the experiment just to leave it and see what happens, what comes. I've scattered the odd seed. So as you can see now it's becoming part of a bed rather than a path. There's lots of Erythroniums, of course, seeding into it. More peonies here and more of the cardamine. Rhododendron unionensis. This is another Rhododendron uvarifolium. This is another seedling from the same batch of seed. Now, admittedly it's not been planted in quite such a favourable spot, but it's taken much longer to get going than the big one up there, which covered in flowers. So it just shows you the different vigour and forms of plants you get from seed. And look at in the pathway, carpets of Erythroniums. And if I can come right down, you'll see the whole range of generations in here, from the tiny, just germinating, up through the various years to others that are just starting to flower. When you see the colour coming on the leaf, they're at least 3 years before you get that. More Trilliums in there. You get Trillium grandiflorums and Chloropetallums deeper in to the shade. Erythronium dense canis are kind of past their best. And there's more Trillium rivale. Trillium rivale. Pseudo-Trillium if you must. More self-seeded Trilliums and in the path, and all the self-seeded Erythroniums under the rhododendrons. That's another Dendrocaris, which is a cutting off the other one. I took cuttings a few years ago. Gave some away and planted that one there, so we'd have a couple. And that's the bigger seedling of Ovarifolium. And as I say, if you can contrast that one with that one over there, can I point? Oh yeah, there it is. I think you just can agree that's a much more spectacular form. The yellow Erythroniums you see there are grandiflorums. So I think I'm going to wind it up here now and be able to say goodbye to you. Thanks for being with me again. I think the next walk will probably be peak Erythroniums, but until then I'll just leave you to enjoy this Rhododendron, Ovarifolium, and I can't remember the name of the little pink one at the side here, pink hybrid. But they contrast rather well and grow rather well, even though the wee one's having to grow out to get out from underneath the shade of the big one. All that growing over a carpet of plants, dicentras and colchicum leaves, and lots of spring flowering plants coming through it. So thanks very much. Enjoy your garden in the spring. If you're in the north of the UK and Scotland, I hope Dave isn't too nasty and do too much damage to our gardens. Until the next time, enjoy your gardens. Bye.